Afternoon, everybody. Hope you're all well. I've got the task of trying to wake you guys up a little bit before the coffee break. So I've got a few slides, got a video, try and keep it as upbeat and interactive as we can. So I'm a principal architect. I report directly to the chief architect, who in any other organisation would be called a chief technology officer. Been there a couple of years now. And yeah, I'm responsible for defining the roadmap, the vision, the strategic roadmaps and the way forward in the new world, also looking at our legacy estate and everything else that goes with it. So NATS, has everyone heard of NATS? Could you just quick show of hands? It stands for National Air Traffic Services. We used to be government owned, we're now privately owned, but we are still, the government still do have a funding and an interest, but we have a regulated and an unregulated side to the business. So what we're going to talk about today is the regulated side of the business. And then at the end, I'll talk about a little bit about the unregulated side of things. So just a quick show of hands. Who's flown in or out of Heathrow ever? Probably most people. Who's flown in or out of Heathrow in the last 18 months? Good. So quite a well-versed audience in terms of what Heathrow is, where it is, what it does. So safety is our business at NATS. Everything we do is safety critical. So it is our number one priority, as you would expect. So I used to be in the army many moons ago, and my best mate Dean also joined the parachute regiment, and we were both from a really rough area of Nottingham, and he's got the claim to fame of flying 9 times before he actually landed in a plane, because he was in the parachute regiment, so he would jump out before they even landed. So I ended up in 5 Airborne Brigade as well, so I used to jump out of planes as well, but before that I'd been on a few sort of places here and there on flights. So I always thought flying was pretty safe anyway. I didn't really have a massive view or a picture, but now since I work at NATS, my confidence in flying is just through the roof. It's 100 times more than it was. Not that I'm a scaredy boy or anything like that anyway, but it's just such a safe environment. There's everything we do and every system we operate, we have safety as our number one priority. So we own and operate all the radar sites, the radio sites. We cover the whole of the United Kingdom airspace. And yeah, so we get paid on route charging. So all of the motorways in the sky that we maintain and operate and provide surveillance on and control through is how we get paid. And we have an unregulated side of the business as well. So we do operate outside of the UK. We've got guys out in Singapore, Asia, all over the place. We don't just focus on air navigation services either. We do lots of different engineering, various tasks all over the place. So the talk today is how we've managed to reduce congestion into Heathrow on a windy day. But I just want to set the scene before we do that on what happens out in the ocean. So most of our busy peak periods coming in and out of Heathrow are transatlantic flights. So we have the inbound red eyes coming in from about 5 in the morning. They would have departed sort of 6, 7, 8 hours before that. And this picture here is depicting, if you can see it, that's the north of Scotland there, that's Ireland there, and these are the tracks coming in from America and Canada, North America over Greenland. So what we do, based on the Met conditions at the time, the Gulf Stream and the Met conditions, barometric pressure, all that good stuff, we define the motorways or freeways if you're an American, and we tell the planes, go on this heading, at this wind speed, at this flight level, and then they hit that track, and then they stay on it. They can't deviate. We have no surveillance cover out in the ocean, for obvious reasons. You can't float a radar station on a lilo or a boat or whatever, it just isn't going to work. So we rely on the planes every time they pass a longitude position, which is around about every 18 minutes, to send us a data link message, which is like a text message, but a lot more glorified. We then capture that information, and then that plots the position of that plane at a particular time on our ATCO radar screens. So we did a study last year on looking at the ocean, and we'll talk a little bit more about that at the end if we get time. So the flights enter and leave at longitude 30, which is exactly midway between England and North Canada and North America. Canada operate up to that point, then we take over. So like I said, no surveillance picture. And we record every interaction via data link. That link is also used for things like Rolls-Royce have real-time monitoring of their engines. They have 28 sensors inside each aircraft. That is passed back to Derby in real time. That's used for things like maintenance, fault analysis, fault prevention, R&D, the whole kit and caboodle. It's only a 256K link. It's really, really small, but they're able to ship a fair amount of information down it. That's the same link that we use for capturing their position, and an ATCO might text using data link a pilot saying you're at flight level 37, which is 37,000 feet. We've looked at the conditions. If you go up to 39, you're going to get better fuel burn. But we call that one the gin and tonic effect. So when we did a study last year, there's only about 18% of flight levels offered get accepted, mainly by the American airlines, and that's down to the gin and tonic effect, where the guys on the plane are all happy, it's nice and smooth, they're watching a film, they've got a gin and tonic, they don't want to go up or down just in case it starts getting into turbulence and all that good stuff. So out in the ocean, there's about 60 nautical miles of separacy, which is about 10 minutes. So a plane enters a track and then another plane follows it at different flight levels sometimes, but there is good 60 miles of separacy out there. And we adjust them every day. Flight plans are submitted a year before the flight, and then they get refined down and adjusted, and then finally the actual flight plan submitted to the plane, and off they go. So this is a Shandwick view. Shandwick is a mashup of Shannon and Prestwick, and that covers our north of England region. So we have two centres. Air traffic controllers sitting in Swanwick, which is near where I live in Southampton, and I work in the corporate and technology centre just up the road. Then we have another centre up in Scotland, at Prestwick, hence the term Shandwick. When you have a strong headwind, when it's above 5, 10, 15 knots, that starts to slow the planes down on approach. And then those separation gaps get bigger and bigger. So what started at 4.5 nautical miles of separacy at 14 miles out can get up to 5, 6 nautical miles as they're coming in under a really, really strong headwind. So that's why we decided to do a study on time-based separation to prove the fact that we can bring planes closer together, still maintain the safety and still maintain a reliable, really good service. Getting a bit dry there, never mind. Okay, so 44% is the number attributed to strong headwinds or medium headwinds. Everything else is fairly low key. So we took a decision to say, let's go and do a study here and let's see how we can alleviate some of these delays caused by strong headwinds. And this picture is just to depict why we actually did it in the first place. LVPs is low visibility procedures, so fog, mist, that sort of smoke from nearby fires, all that good stuff, that doesn't attribute to as much delay these days because of the technology and the surveillance and everything else we can use. So we implemented this in March 2015. It's on track to save about 80,000 minutes of air traffic flow management per year just at Heathrow. So it's been quite a compelling and a really good success story. We have been approached by other regions, other airlines, airports, etc., saying we really like the idea of TBS. Could we consider perhaps using it ourselves? So we're in negotiations with some of our other counterparts and via our incumbent providers as well. It was actually designed, implemented, developed, rolled out, and is now operated today by NATS and our partner Lockheed Martin, who are now called Leidos. So what is a wake vortex? Like I said, the tip of the plane as it's flying along, generating lift, causes vortexes out of the back. So on a really heavy plane, these vortexes get quite big, so you have to be separate in order to not cause minor turbulence, big turbulence, and then ultimately, well, you know where I'm going with this. So Wake vortexes act differently in different conditions. So in a crosswind, less than 5 knots, the pattern is quite standard and doesn't vary that much. But then when you introduce crosswinds or other variables, the vortexes start to go all over the place. So one of the benefits of a strong headwind, and there aren't many, is wake vortexes dissipate quicker than in a non-windy day. So when we have got lots of windy conditions, those big wake vortexes that we're creating and the tails off the back of them, they get blown away quicker, and that's how we're able to shrink the planes in. So what we did is we studied the wake vortexes with our Internet of Things LiDAR device. You've probably never ever heard of one. It's very, very specific to air navigation and aviation. It comes on the back of a lorry, you unplug it, you power it on, and it basically uses light out to an object and measures the distance and the time back, and then we capture that. And we did that for 150,000 unique flights coming into Heathrow over 5 years. And we had more than one. So we then had to take all of that information, collate it, analyse it, and present it, and build a safety case to the Civil Aviation Authority and to Eurocontrol to say, we've studied this, we've looked at it, we don't see any safety issue if we start to put planes closer together as they're on final approach into Heathrow, and here's the data. So not really big data in the true sense of it being exabytes, petabytes, zettabytes or whatever, but it was complex data. And this was kind of a first. No one's really ever done this before. So we've got a team of data scientists within NATS. There was about 70 of them. They were instrumental in helping us to define, look at, work with, and analyse and present the findings of that data. So that was the precursor to TBS. We then got the go-ahead. How much is it going to cost? How much will it save? The cost savings, the TCO, the return was significant. So we then went ahead and implemented it. I'm not going to read this out parrot fashion, but this basically talks about the in-ground effect, so much lower, and then the out-of-ground effect. So the only differences really are the longitudes out 1,300 metres as opposed to 200 and I think it's 70 metres. So now that we've got the go-ahead, we had to then go and develop a service. So we've got 700 engineers at NATS. So we've got guys been there 30, 40, nearly 50 years even. That what they don't know about air navigation is so you get the picture. So they'll get their soldering irons out through to developing software, through to hardware, and away they go. So with our partners Lockheed Martin, we then developed a system that would take the data, not from our IoT device, on the back of a lorry device. We now stream the data in real time from the planes as they're on final approach. So every plane in the sky is like a MET station. It presents that information to us in real time as it's happening. So that is all fed into either Swanwick or Prestwick and is crunched through and goes through our flight data processor and is then presented through to an HMI, which is a human-machine interface, which is what an ATCO, an air traffic control officer, is seeing. And this is the picture here. So this isn't a live picture. We ran this through our simulator about 3 weeks ago just to present to you guys. We tried to build a fairly useful picture that shows what TBS looks like to an ATCO. So on the right here, pretty much the side of this screen is the runway into Heathrow. That's where they're touching down. These are 2-mile markers going along out to the TBS indicator, which is the vector point that the air traffic controllers are getting the planes onto. That's about 14 miles out. So here, sorry, going to run around. These are planes coming in from the south. They go up and round, hit that vector, and then across the top, THY, and then OK1LA, they're all coming in. So this guy is the first, and he's just about to land. So that's a BA 479. You can see the wake vortex depicted in brown stars behind him, and then the one behind that. The first one that we've got, you can't really see it that well is AZA209. E's a heavy because E's 4.4 behind BCS 763, and that little line there, that's what the ATCO has to keep the tip of the plane on to maintain that time-based separation. So not all of the planes in this picture are being time-based separated, some are being distance-based separated. If they're distance-based, the picture at the top there, the 3, that is the minimum separation set for that picture today in terms of the Met conditions, the weather, the headwinds, the flight conditions, everything else. So probably one of the most expensive little lines on the screen anywhere in the world, to be honest. But it's used at least 55 times a year, days worth, and it's saved us 80-odd thousand minutes of delay, which obviously has real benefits for everybody. When we're starting delays in Europe, as you saw in my video, if the flights are coming in slower, there's no outbounds at that point. Every minute then, the clock's ticking, that's delaying all the outbounds going to the rest of Europe, saving my Aunt Betty getting out to Benidorm and all that good stuff. So that was an operational service that we provide. That's in, that's working, it's safety assured, it's signed off, approved, provides a really good service. We might enhance it further with some other areas of additional bolt-on services. What we're now doing is we're looking at the non-operational side. So there's a 3.6 billion euro programme to transform European air navigation over Europe over the next 10 years. It's called SESAR, Single European Sky ATM Research. Doesn't really mean a lot, but like a lot of the acronyms we use, they sometimes can get a little bit confusing. NATS didn't make that one up, by the way. That was a European control programme that they've derived. So we're getting ahead of the game. We're doing something called DSESAR, which is aligning our new operational systems to be much more COTS-based, much more off-the-shelf, less proprietary, less bespoke, less monolithic. And my job, along with the analytics guys, is to look at how we can take all of that service data, that really important service data, because data to an ATCO, an air traffic control officer, is only relevant for about 15 seconds. Once that's gone by 15 seconds, he doesn't care about what's happened in the past. It's all about the future. But that data has a massive value for us as an organisation. It's going to help with a myriad of different business and operational decisions, and also help us commercialise and monetise our insight as well. So we're building a 3 petabyte data lake, or an enterprise data hub. We're using MapR at the moment to really good success. We've got a lot of information in there. We've taken TBS data, ITEC data, oceanic data. We're able to put it all in one location, and then we're using Hive, Drill, Spark, all those good tools you guys probably know a lot about, to then glean a lot of insight, a lot of information from. Some of our data is really, really hard to work with because of the nature of it. It's asterisks, it's Corba, it's surveillance, it's radar. But we have managed to crack quite a bit of it using these new big data technologies. So it's still early days. We use Big Step for our prototyping environment. We did a scalability test last week. They provisioned us 9 extra nodes. We did the testing, we spun them back down, and then we found the results, and everyone's a winner, and it was proved to be a good result. One data ingest process on our BI product took 1 hour and 20. On our production side, we got that down to 6 minutes 40, so pretty decent. And that was just on 6 nodes at the time. Didn't get any quicker when we added more because the data wasn't that big. We're looking at GPU for in-memory. Don't know if anyone else is looking at that yet, but that's proving to be very new, but really, really interesting to us. That's another area we'll be looking at next year. We then got some self-service and some data insight, and then who knows, we're just going to take it from wherever we go, really. So hope you found that informative. I know it was quick. It was a real whistle-stop tour through. I will be around after if anyone wants to come and ask me any questions if they're a bit shy now, but we'll open the floor now for any questions if anyone's got any. See, told you it's the slot before coffee break.
Hi. I was just wondering why these messages that you send to the pilots, why doesn't processed by, automatically by the autopilot, so they can do their gin tonic and the plane. Basically, you drive the plane while they have the party.
Okay, so I think the question is why can't we, an ATCO sends a flight level change or a directional speed change via data link, why won't Autopilot just do it? It's all about the human element. They're there as a safety measure, even though the plane's on autopilot. I can't see planes flying themselves autonomously to that sort of level yet. In the air traffic control world, we're moving to a trajectory-based service. So they will be more in terms of similar to a plane when the plane's on autopilot. They'll be there just making sure and overseeing everything rather than an ATCO interacting every time they enter a different region or zone. But it's just I would imagine, I can't give you a definitive answer, but I can find out, but it would just be it's a perception thing, it's a human thing, you know, it's getting crazy now with machine learning and autonomous cars and drones and everything else, you know, I think it's going a little bit too far having, automated ATCO systems telling planes where to fly and nobody kind of hitting and saying, yeah, that's okay. Hope that answered the question okay for you. Yeah.
It might be a little bit off topic, but given your unique position, I can't resist asking you if you'd have gone for Heathrow or Gatwick.
I knew that was going to come up. And I've been warned by the press office at NATS. So I can't give you a definitive answer as NATS, but as an individual, having seen the technologies and the processes and the service capabilities that have been developed at Heathrow, they are way ahead. There is only one runway at Gatwick. So my view, I think it's a good thing, but NATS have their own view, and I can send you the link to the full corporate response. So I knew someone was going to ask me that. Why wouldn't they? They only announced it a couple of days ago.
Hi, thank you for the presentation, and I'm very interested that you're using Big Step. It's technology I tried a year ago for performance enhancement, POC, and I'm trying to introduce it on the company where I'm working on. So I would like to ask you about the way of selecting Big Step. If you compare with other technologies, what kind of business case it results for you, or use case? Is it performance? Is it price-based? If you can comment on that, please.
Yeah, so we looked at a number of different providers, and to be fair, cost-wise, they all kind of about the same or thereabouts. But we were recommended them by somebody we were working with who's an agnostic consultancy. They said give these guys a go, and it wasn't cost, it wasn't technology. It was more around the people, how responsive they were, how informed they were, knowledgeable, and their customer service, and their customer service just carries on being really, really good, really, really quick, really proactive. So I'm not being paid by them or anything like that, but it's all. I've worked in this industry many, many years. I always like to show recognition when an organisation or a product are going over and above everybody else. So there isn't one USP, one compelling thing that I would say, yeah, absolutely was this. It's a combination of the fact. So we had a meeting earlier and I said, just keep doing what you're doing, and when you grow bigger, don't lose sight of the fact of how good your customer service and technical support is. So we're only using a fairly small platform at the moment, so cost, etc. is not going to be that important yet, but it will. Is that okay? Good. All right, thank you everybody. Cheers.